you having computer issues? Okay, well, that's not critical. You didn't give them those copies of that letter yet, Aisha, did you? There's some over here. We'll get them for you too. Okay. Do it at lunchtime. You can do it at lunchtime. Yeah, I'm 99.9%. Can one of you see if Mr. Davis is out there? If he's just out there talking, we need to get going. Okay, let's go ahead and bring our jury back in, please. You can do it later. And I see you got to restart the whole thing. If you want to try and do it for a minute, you can. I can wait for a second. There's going to be a second coming in. Sure, that's right.
Okay.
It's even big enough that I can read it.
Good.
Please be seated. Okay. Take your time. All set? Okay. Mr. Malik, call your next witness.
Today we call Brandon Campos, Your Honor.
Okay.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
Please have a seat, sir. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us. That chair is bolted to the ground.
Okay,
Everybody
yeah,
tries to pull it forward. It
I see
doesn't
that
go
now.
forward. What I'm going to need you to do for me is lean into that microphone. You might want to scoot forward a little bit on the chair. That helps. The microphone does move. It looks like it's probably at a good height for you.
Yeah.
Would you introduce yourself to the jury and spell your first name and your last name for the court reporter, please?
Yes, my name is Brandon Campos, Brandon Campos.
Thank you. Please proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Brandon.
Good morning.
Brandon, how old are you?
20.
And are you currently working? Do you go to school?
I'm going to school.
Where do you go to school?
Daytona State College.
Back on May 9th, 2012, were you working or were you going to school?
I was going to school at the time and working.
And where were you going to school back then?
Sheeler High School.
Schuler High School. What grade were you in?
I was a senior.
Where were you living at the time?
503 Bernardino Drive in Ocoee.
That's Ocoee. Is that in Orange County in the state of Florida?
Yes.
And how long had you been living there?
For 7 years. About that.
And On May 9th, who were you living there with?
It was me, my brother, Remington, my sister, Brianna, and my friend, Alex.
Alex, that's Alex Aldevar.
Yes, it is.
On this particular day, let's start with the morning. Where were you in the morning that day?
The morning I was at school,
And what time did you get out of school?
roughly 11:30.
11:30. Is that unusual for you to get out at 11:30?
No, that was normal. Yes.
And was there someone else with you that came back to the house with you that day?
Yes, me and William, we commuted to school together, so he came back to my house after school.
That's William Harrington,
Yes, it is.
and he's a friend of yours from school.
Yes.
Who else was at the house that day when you got there?
When I got home, it was just my sister and Alex.
And do you know what Alex was doing at the time?
He was sleeping.
Is that unusual for Alex to be sleeping?
No, that's actually quite normal.
And what were you guys doing? What did you first start doing when you got home?
Well, we got home, I'm sure I ate and then started to watch TV, like I normally would.
And in what room were you when you were watching TV?
The family room.
And who else was in there with you when you were watching TV?
It was me, William, and my sister.
I'm going to show you on the screen there in front of you.
Okay.
This is State's Exhibit 1. And this is page 11.
Is the image on the screen, sir?
Yes.
Okay.
And can you see that image?
Yes, I can. That's the family room.
Okay. Is this the family room where you guys were hanging out?
Yes, exactly.
Do you remember who was sitting on which chair?
Yes, I was in the orange chair that you see, just the arms of it, and Will was sitting in the sofa to the left of the coffee table in the middle, and my sister to the, you can't see the orange chair, but across from the middle table in between the orange chair, to the right of it.
Okay. And the TV in the background over the fireplace, is that the TV where you're watching?
Yes, it was.
How long would you say you were doing that before something happened?
Maybe an hour.
What's the next thing, or what's the first thing unusual that you remember happening?
I recall seeing in the reflection of the TV while we were watching it, the same car passed by about 4 times, and that was very unusual, and I actually said something about it out loud. But it was unusual, but nothing for me to think that what was coming next was going to happen.
Okay. Unusual, let me ask you this, what was unusual about it? What called your attention to it?
Well, I mean, the street is only, it's not a big street, so for the same car to pass by 4 times, that's not normal.
Okay. What's the next thing you remember happening?
There was a knock at the door, and I didn't quite look outside of the window. I did, but I didn't see anybody, so I just opened the door, and it was Nolan and Bessman at the door, which I've never seen before.
Okay, let me slow you down a little bit.
Okay.
I'm going to show you again this exhibit, State's Exhibit 1 in evidence. I'm going to show you photograph number 14. Is this the doorway we're talking about?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And is there a peephole or something in the doorway?
No peephole, just the side windows you can see.
Okay. And so could you see anything out the side windows before you opened the door?
No, I couldn't.
What's the first thing you saw when you opened the door?
The 2 black gentlemen standing there, and they asked for my sister.
Do you remember what name it was they said, or how they said it?
They said Brianna, which that's not how it's pronounced. It's Brianna. Yes.
Did you notice anything unusual about them when they were there in the doorway when you first saw them?
Just the fact that I would have never thought they would come knocking at my door. Yeah.
Had you ever seen them before that day?
No, never.
So you didn't know if Brianna knew them or they knew her?
I wouldn't think that she would have. That's why I looked at her with a puzzled face. I had no idea.
Okay. What's the next thing that you did?
The next thing I did, they asked for my sister. I turned around and kind of gave my sister a look like, Brianna? And then I looked back, and that's when one of them had pointed the gun towards my face and just said, "Step back, this isn't a game. Get on the ground."
Okay. Let me ask you, what differences did you notice about the two of them? Or how would you describe or distinguish between the two of them?
The facial features and the hair.
Okay, just describe the hair for me.
The cornrows, that's what Bernard had. I remember the cornrows and the slashes and Bessman's eyebrows.
Okay. Do you remember which one of them was the one that you said first had the gun?
I believe it was Bessman.
And again, you're using their names, but you didn't know who they were at the time.
Yeah, at the time, no, I did not.
And you said they were pointing the gun where?
Straight towards my face.
How did you feel when that happened?
I kind of froze and was speechless, and I just did as they told me to.
Did they actually come into the house at that point?
Oh yes, right when they pointed the gun, they started walking towards me, so I had to backstep a little bit.
Okay, and where was Brianna at the time?
She was still sitting in the chair, and so was Will, and then right when he said to get on the ground, they both proceeded to start laying on the ground.
All right, now let me ask you, did the other individual, did you see him with a gun or no?
At first, no, it was just the one.
And where did when they came into the house, what room did they come into in the house?
They walked straight to into the family room.
And when you saw the first person that pointed the gun at you, how far away was he from you?
Arm's length.
Did he have anything covering his face?
No, nothing at all.
Any concealing him, any mask or anything?
Nope, nothing at all.
And this was approximately what?
That was about 1 o'clock.
What happened when they came into the living room area? What's the next thing you remember?
They started they got us on the ground first, and then they started just asking questions. Where's the stash? Where's the grow house? Started asking for a name, which I had no idea what they were talking about. And then they really just started asking for like the grow house and said, "I'll ask you one more time or 2 more times," or something like that. And then they just proceeded to just getting us on the ground and then kind of going through the house and looking for anything of value because we didn't have what they were looking for.
Okay, well, let me slow you down again a little bit. When you say they got you on the ground, how did that happen, or what did they do to get you on the ground?
They just pointed the guns at us and told us to lay on the ground, and of course we were going to.
Okay. Did they both have guns at that point?
Yes, they did.
All right. And how would you describe the guns? Do you remember what the guns looked like?
I only saw the black one from when I first opened the door. The one that was pointed at me was all black.
Okay. Did they both stay, you said they got you on the ground, did they both stay in that room with you, or what happened next?
Yeah, they stayed in the room for maybe 10 minutes, and then once one of them started proceeding to go from room to room, then I had the one behind me, he stayed behind me, pointing the gun towards me, I guess, and towards me and William, because we were both kind of laying next to each other, so he was standing behind us.
Okay, and do you remember which individual it was? Was the one with the shaved eyebrows or the other one?
Yes, that was Bessman.
And could you see where the other individual went?
Yes, at first he took my sister to her room to go in search of anything in her room, anything of value, and then he proceeded to go from room to room.
Okay. When you guys were on the ground, was your sister on the ground at that point? Or
yes, she was for a short period of time, and then she was also up for a short period of time.
Do you know where Alex was at this time?
He was sleeping during the majority of it.
Okay. And you said they were asking about the grow house. Did you know what they were talking about?
No idea.
All right. And you had lived at that house for how long?
7 years.
All right. In the 7 years you lived there, has it ever been a grow house?
No, never.
How long was Brianna up and around the house with the other person?
Maybe 5 minutes.
And you and Will were on the ground the whole time?
Yes, we were.
All right. Could you see anything? I mean, you were presumably you were face down on the ground?
Yes, I had my head would be tilted up trying to get a view for as much as I could, really. But the gentleman behind me he saw what I was trying to do, trying to look up and see, and he told me, keep your face on the ground before you get popped or something.
And how far away was he from you at that point?
He was probably just behind. I was laying on the ground. He was maybe a step behind me, behind my feet.
All right. And again, which individual was this?
I believe that was Bessman.
What happened, or what's the next thing you remember when your sister came back to the living room?
They made her get back on the ground, and that's when they had everything loaded up in the bags, I believe, and kind of had everything in the bags, and they started piling it by the front door, and then in that time they found, while he was searching the other rooms, he saw Alex in the other room, and then woke him up and proceeded to bring him to the family room as well.
Okay. Do you remember who it was that brought Alex out to the living room?
I believe it was Nolan.
And was your sister already back in the living room again with you guys at that point?
Yeah, she was back.
You remember them saying anything when they were bringing Alex out?
Yeah, I heard from across the house that he yelled out, "I found another little jit in the back room." And then Bessman behind me said, "Is it a big jit or a little jit?" And he said, "It's a big jit." And they brought out Alex.
What happened when they brought out Alex?
They brought him out and told him to get on the ground and do the same as we were.
How did Alex appear when you saw him?
Probably a little pale and shocked. Yeah.
Where were they pointing the guns when they brought Alex out?
Oh, just right towards his back.
And what did they do with Alex when he came out?
They brought him out and just had him lay on the floor. And then maybe 5 minutes after that, that's when they proceeded to start tying us up with controllers or phone chargers, really anything they could, and then the handcuffs.
Okay. Do you remember, specifically you, do you remember what they used to tie you up?
I believe they used like an Xbox controller for me. That and maybe an extension cord, like just a little short extension cord.
Okay, let me show you again. This is State's Exhibit 1, photograph number 11. I don't know, can you see it in that photograph?
Yes, it's right below, closest to the orange chair in the bottom of the picture. The cord laying right there would be the one I was tied with. And there would be another one as well, one for my feet and one for my hands.
Okay. And did they tie just you up, or did they tie the others up as well?
They tied all 4 of us up.
Could you see what, if anything, they had with them when they were doing this?
At the time, all I saw is that they had the guns, and then towards the end, of course, all the bags filled with all of our stuff.
Okay. So you could see some bags at some point that they had?
Yes.
Did you recognize the bags?
Yes, I recognized the black Hurley backpack, which was Alex's.
Did you see any other bags that they had?
Yes, they had a red one, or I could have sworn it was red, but really I only saw the Hurley one.
Showing you again, this is actually this is States 2, photograph number 8.
Yes, that's the Hurley backpack. That was Alex's.
You said that was Alex's backpack, and you saw one of them carrying that backpack?
Yes.
Now, when they were tying you up, did they take anything from you, from your person, like your pockets?
Yes, they took my wallet, they took my cell phone, and my keys that were in my pocket as well.
And what kind of cell phone did you have?
I had an iPhone at the time.
I'm showing you again, this is State's Exhibit 2, photograph number 6. You recognize the items in this photograph?
Yes, the square brickish kind of phone was mine.
On which side, the left-hand side or the right-hand side?
In the middle, below the flask.
Okay.
The brick phone, and also the iPhone that was cracked. The cracked iPhone right there, that's the one I was using at the time. The other phone was just a spare in my bedroom.
Do you remember how long, approximately how long they were at the house?
It felt like at least 30 minutes, like 25 to 30 minutes.
What did they do after they tied you up?
After they tied us up, they opened the door. One of them left. One stayed at the door. And then I believe the other one went to his car, went to the car wherever they had it. And then I didn't even hear the second person leave, but I was looking underneath the couch that I was sitting in. And when I was facing down, and then I looked down, saw shoes, looked kind of back, and like looked at everybody's like what they were like, how they were feeling. And then I looked back again, and the shoes were gone. And then that's when I proceeded to try to start untying myself, but I really couldn't.
So could you see how they left or where they went when they left?
No, I didn't see the car. I didn't see them leave. They left the door wide open when they left, but I couldn't see where the car was.
And so how soon after they left did you start trying to untie yourself?
We were probably all untied maybe 2 minutes.
What's the next thing you did?
We went right next door to my neighbor Nancy's, and then we proceeded to call the cops from there.
And did you stay there and wait for the police, or did you go back to your house?
We stayed there and kind of tried to calm our nerves.
At some point, do you remember the police arriving?
Yes.
And do you remember telling the police basically what happened?
Yeah, exactly, yes.
Did you at some point have the opportunity to go through and determine if there were some things missing from your house then?
I believe at the time when the cops were there, we weren't allowed to go back inside right away.
Right.
Because they didn't want us to go and add any more fingerprints or anything like that.
Right. At some point, and we'll come back, but at some point after that day, were you able to determine some items that were missing from the house?
Yes, the next day we went to the police station and kind of were told like some of the items, like describe your cell phone, describe whatever was stolen, and we would describe them and they would bring them out at the exact same time.
Okay. And do you remember what other items, aside from your cell phone, that you were missing?
Yeah, my Xbox was stolen, along with its games, the controllers, everything really, and some of the Nintendo Wii controllers and stuff like that, and a watch that I had in my bedroom, like my backup phone as well, and really I believe that was it.
Okay. That's all in terms of what you were missing?
Yeah, and also my debit card and whatnot, what was in my wallet.
Showing you again. This is marked as State's Exhibit 2. This is photograph number 12. Do you recognize the items in that photo?
Yes, I do. That was my Xbox And then in the one game that was recovered out of a couple that were taken.
And where did you recognize them from?
Where did I recognize them from? Well, it was hooked up in the family room, so I played it almost every day.
Okay. And was it there, when you go back and did an inventory of the house, was it there?
No, not at all. I saw them actually take that and unhooking it while I was on the floor.
Now, at some point, after you report this to the police, do you remember the police taking you to a different location?
Yes. They took us to a church off of, I believe it was Apopka Island.
Okay. And did you know why they were taking you there?
They were taking us to, it was like pretty much a halfway point of where we were going to meet up with undercover officers and go in the unmarked vehicles, and we were told that we were going to go try to identify 2 people that may or may not have been the suspects that were caught, or the people who did it.
Okay. So that's all you were told, that they may or may not be the people.
Exactly.
And did you have the opportunity to, did you look at the 2 people together or separately?
They were separate.
And when you looked at them, was anyone else with you?
No, there was not, besides the officer driving.
Besides the officer. So Brianna wasn't with you?
No, she was not.
And Will wasn't with you? Do you remember the first suspect that you looked at?
Yes, I believe it was Bernard.
And did you recognize him at the time?
Yes, the cornrows was really a dead giveaway, but yeah, cornrows.
And how sure were you?
Just lean into that microphone a little more if you would, please.
Sorry.
And how sure were you that that was one of the people that you saw?
I was 85% sure.
And then after that, you're showing a different individual.
Yes.
Who was the next individual that you're showing?
That would be Bessman. And for him, I was 95% sure because of the eyebrows, and really that was, I believe that was who I opened the door to, so that's who I was facing at first.
And do you remember, did you identify them right away, or did you have to look at them for a while?
I looked at them for a second, but yeah, I knew right away.
Okay, just a moment, Judge, I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
Approach the witness, Judge.
You may.
I'm showing you first what's been marked as State's Exhibit A.
Okay.
Ask you to take a look at that.
All right.
Do you recognize the person in that photograph?
Yes, I do.
How do you recognize the person in that photograph?
The eyebrows, the slashes in them.
Okay. And which individual was that?
That was Bessman.
And I'm showing you State's Exhibit B.
Okay.
Ask you to take a look at that.
And I remember him because of the cornrows.
Okay. And these photographs, is that how they appeared at the time?
Yes, it was.
At any time, did you give anybody permission to take your Xbox or your wallet or any of those things?
No, no, not at all.
at some point you were asked to come down to the station and identify some items that had been recovered?
Yes.
All right. Did you ever get your keys back?
Yes, I did. I believe so.
And if you saw those two individuals here in court again today, do you think you'd be able to recognize them?
Yes, I would.
All right. And the individual that you described as previously had the shaved eyebrows, et cetera, do you know who that is?
Yes, I do.
And do you think you can point him out and describe him where he's seated or what he's wearing?
Yes, I can.
Your voice is starting to drop. You need to keep it up
Sorry.
a little.
Yes, I can.
Go ahead, please.
Okay. He is Bessman Okafor at the far right end of that table.
Your Honor, may the record reflect he's identified Mr. Okafor?
Record will so reflect.
And the second individual you described with the cornrows, if you saw him again here today, do you think you'd be able to recognize him?
Yes, I do.
And can you point him out and describe him?
Yes. He is right there with the dark blue tie with the goatee and the sideburns, short hair.
Your Honor, may the record reflect he's identified Mr. Bernard?
Record will so reflect.
Thank you, sir. No further questions.
Cross-examination. Mr. Davis.
Your Honor, may I approach the evidence?
You may.
To get states. And, Your Honor, I remember the court mentioning that he might be able to show me how to fly this contraption here.
Mr. Malik may be better than
Okay.
I. Mr. Malik, can you tutor a little bit on the electronics?
I'll try.
Oh, okay. Done. Oh, okay. Wait a minute, I think that's upside down. Okay. All right, Mr. Campos, tell us again about, you say there was a knock at the door. Who answered the door the day of the incident?
Me. I answered the door.
Okay. And just out of curiosity, as I look here, well, first let me say, can you see what I see here on the screen in terms of the front door with the pane or panel of pane there
Yes.
on the side?
Yes.
That is representative of the door of the house that you were living in
Yes.
at that time?
That is my front door, yes.
Okay, all right. And when there was a knock at the door, did you look through one of those panes to see who it was?
I did look as I was walking towards the door, but I didn't see anybody.
Okay. In other words, as you were walking toward the door, you looked, but you didn't, like, not open the door and look
No.
through the pane?
As I was walking towards, I mean, I kind of, if there was someone there, like, I would normally be able to see them, but I wasn't expecting what was coming, so I just opened the door.
So you weren't expecting anyone that day?
Well, my friend stops by sometimes just out of random. So if anything, I was thinking it was maybe one of my friends.
Your Honor, can the court instruct the witness to answer the question yes or no, because the state can rehabilitate him?
If you can answer yes or no, please do. If you
Okay.
need to
Thank you,
explain,
Your
it's fine.
So again, were you expecting someone that day?
No.
And you weren't expecting someone that day, you hear a knock at the door, and you opened up the door.
Yes.
And it is normal for you, if you hear a knock at the door, to just open it up and to not to see if anybody is there or what the deal is.
Yes.
Right. Go through for us again the scenario of the car driving by with the reflection through the TV.
Okay. While we were watching TV, I could see the same car drive by several times, and it was through the TV reflection. It was a bluish, purplish looking car, and it looked like a Grand Prix or a Monte Carlo, something of that sort. I wasn't sure at the time. I just kind of guessed it, and those were the two cars I guessed it as, and it passed by 4 times.
And you saw all that through the television, and you were watching
Yes.
a television show.
Yes, but
Okay.
because of the wind, yes.
I'm going to ask again. You saw all that as you were watching a television show,
Yes.
and you saw that much detail in a car by watching a television show.
Yes.
You were in school, enrolled at what school at that time, sir?
Sheeler High School.
And at that time, you were how old?
I was 18.
And you were in high school?
Yes, I was.
And you were at home that day?
Yes.
And you were at home that day for what reason?
I was already out of school. I was home.
Meaning
I was...
classes were
Yes.
classes were over?
Yes.
What time of day was it that day, at that, what time was it at that time? What time of day was it?
For when I was home?
Yes.
Maybe 11:45.
So you're in high school, you're at home at 11:45.
Yes.
What time did class let out that day?
11:20, 11:30.
I'm sorry?
Either 11:20 or 11:30.
And what year were you in high school?
It was my senior year.
So you're watching television, you see the reflection of a car go by 4 or 5 times, is that correct?
Yes.
And then there's a knock at the door. You're not expecting anyone, correct?
Correct.
You come up to the door to open the door.
Yes.
You don't look to see who it is.
No.
Was anyone, did anyone, let me ask you this, who else was in the house with you at that time?
In the house was my sister, Will, and Alex.
Did and as far as you knew, no one was expecting anyone?
No.
Do you recall giving a statement to the police once they got there, shortly after the incident?
Yes, I do.
And isn't it true in that statement, you did not identify my client.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
All right, thank you.
Yes, let's do that if you would, please.
Okay. Your Honor, I have an exhibit marked for identification H.
Okay?
And Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
You may.
Thank you.
Do you wish for him to review the whole statement? Yes. Sir, if you'd read that to yourself, please take your time, read it to yourself, look up when you're done.
Okay.
Do you have an additional copy for the court by any chance?
I believe so, Your Honor.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Okay. Have you had a chance to review it?
Yes, I have.
Please proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Campos, you have read the statement, correct?
Yes.
And by way of that statement, you do not see that you identified Mr. Okafor, did you?
No, I did not.
Okay, Your Honor, I have another exhibit marked for identification I.
Okay, thank you, sir.
And I have, oh, I'm sorry. May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Have you had a chance to read that, sir?
Yes, I have.
Okay. Please proceed.
Okay, you've reviewed that statement, right, Mr.
Yes.
Campos? And this is the statement that you gave to the officer after the show-up ID, correct?
Correct.
And you were not able to identify my client, Mr. Okafor, on that document. Is that correct?
I was 95% sure it was him.
Again, Your Honor, I would ask that the court direct the witness to answer either yes or no, and have the state rehabilitate his answer.
That's an appropriate answer to the question that you asked in this matter. Overruled.
Thank you, Your Honor. But you do see you wrote nothing but percentages and no details or anything like that. Is that correct?
Percentages is what I was told to write.
Your Honor, again, I'd ask,
You do need to answer yes or no if you can, please.
Okay,
again, you wrote no details, just percentages.
correct.
Just a second, Your Honor.
You may.
Thank you, Your Honor. Okay, Mr. Campos, you recall taking a deposition November 5th, 2012?
Yes,
Okay. Just a minute, Your Honor.
Okay.
Thank you. Your Honor, I have a marked exhibit, J, for the court.
Okay.
Yeah. Your Honor, may I approach the witness, please?
You may. Sir, he'll give you a reference in a minute, what he wants you to look at.
okay.
And Your Honor, we were looking for one copy for the court, but I may have omitted that.
That's
I
okay.
apologize.
For right now, and if I need it, I'll let you know.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, so again, you were, on that day, you were watching television, correct?
Correct.
You see a car through the TV with your TV show on, going back and forth?
Yes,
Okay. And you talked about that incident, in that situation, in the deposition, and I would like to take you to page 5 of 15, line 3 through 10.
Sir, just read that to yourself. If you need to read earlier or after it to put it in context, you're welcome to do that. Look up when you're done, please.
Okay.
Again, it's line 3 through 10.
Okay.
All right, have you completed your reading?
Yes.
All right, please proceed.
Thank you. Now, I believe earlier today, under direct from Mr. Mallett, you described the color of the car. Is that correct?
Yes.
For the jury, I'm going to read the question. The question was on line 3. Okay, and can you describe the car for me? Could you read line 4, which was your answer?
Yes. I said I couldn't describe it at the time. I just knew it was a little 4-door regular coupe. Not a coupe, but like it's a regular 4-door car.
And then the question was, you remember what color it was, correct?
Yes.
And then your answer was?
I couldn't tell through the TV.
And then the question was, okay, do you have any idea if it was an old car, brand new car, or just kind of a normal car? Can you read for the jury what your answer was?
I said if I could throw out a year, it was maybe a 98.
All right. I would also ask you to turn to page 7 of 15. Lines 19 through 22.
Okay.
Again, just read those to yourself, sir.
Page 7 of 15.
Okay.
And the question was, okay, you guys ever have parties at your house? And what is your answer?
I said, no, it's been a very long time.
And the question was, what's a very long time?
Me, I said, months.
Then I will take you to line, same page, beginning line 26. Going over to page 8 of 15. Lines 1 and 2.
Once again, just read those to yourself, sir.
Okay.
Okay. You may proceed.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. Can you read line 26 for the jury, Mr. Campos?
Yes. It says, I've never actually like quite had a party. It was just a couple of my close friends.
And then the question was, going to the next page, okay, so a couple people watching TV, or you had a house party? And your answer was?
It was, if anything, a couple people watching TV.
Mr. Campos, isn't it true that you all did have frequent parties at that house?
No.
And isn't it true that you frequently had people coming to that house?
Yes.
All right, I will take you now to page 9 of 15, lines 21 through 26 on that page, which goes to the next page, page 10, which ends at the top line. Could you read that?
Okay.
You may, did you get the lines?
Yes.
Okay, why don't you go ahead and read those to yourself, if you would, let me meet with counsel at the bench. The objection is sustained. Please proceed.
Mr. Campos, if you know, why would these people ask your sister, where's the stuff?
I don't know.
One minute, Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
Okay, you just said you didn't know why they may be asking your sister, where's the stuff? I want to take you back to the date of your deposition. I wanted you to look at, again, line 21.
What page?
I'm sorry, page 9 through 15. I should say 9 of 15. And then at the top of page 10 of 15, which ends in line 1.
The same objection.
Hang on just a minute. Let me look at it. All right, let me see counsel at the bench. The objection is sustained.
Okay. While this was going on, Mr. Campos, isn't it true that you were lying face down?
Yes.
Okay. And isn't it true that you couldn't see because you were lying face down?
Yes and no.
If you were lying face down, isn't it true that you could only see below the kneecaps?
Yes.
Could you speak into the mic a little louder?
Yes.
Okay. And isn't it true if you were lying face down, at best, it would only be the lower half of a body?
Once again, yes and no.
Okay, I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Can you hand that exhibit back to the clerk?
Oh, yes, Your Honor.
It's on the overhead. Thank you, sir. Mr. Clark? I don't know whether Mr. Clark may need him to use those. Why don't we leave them there for right now? Mr. Clark, cross.
Thank you, Morning.
Morning.
All right. Let me start with talk about the car a little bit, because Mr. Davis talked about it. Basically, what it comes down to is, today you told us that the car was a bluish, purplish color, right?
Yes.
And then back when your deposition was taken, you told the attorney at that time that you didn't know what color it was. You couldn't tell on the TV.
Correct.
Sometimes over time, things change like that. All right, so let's talk about the car a little more. When you're taken to do the show up, they drive you over to a location where they bring somebody out of the car, out of a police car, unmarked car, or something in handcuffs, right?
Yes.
And they have you identify that person.
Correct.
And at the location that they did this car, this bluish purplish car that you're talking about, was actually there too.
Yes, it was.
So they had, you were shown two people in handcuffs, right? These two guys,
Correct.
right? And then the car was like sitting there too.
Yes. Yes.
That bluish purplish car that you didn't know was bluish and purplish until then, presumably.
Correct.
All right. Now, you said that you do the show up, and the cornrows, I think you said, were the dead giveaway as
Yes.
to Mr. Bernard, right?
Yes.
And I think you said, also said, I remember him because of the cornrows,
Yes.
right? And you said 85%, right?
Correct.
All right. Do you remember talking to Detective Walsh back then? That was the guy who took you over there?
Vaguely, yes.
And Detective Walsh kind of asked you about that, your percentages. And you told Detective Walsh that you didn't remember the hair looking exactly like that. Remember that?
Not so much.
Okay. Did you say that to Detective Walsh or no?
I wouldn't be too sure. Maybe.
All right. If I show you Detective Walsh's statement, will that refresh your memory?
Yes.
You guys got it? I'll show you, I guess it would be for an RA.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Have you finished?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
Has your memory been refreshed?
Yes.
All right, so you told, at the time, you told Detective Walsh that Mr. Bernard's hair wasn't quite the same as the guy that you saw in your house, right?
Correct.
Now, let me ask you a couple more questions. I don't have too many more. When you go and you do the show up, you're showing these two guys in handcuffs, you know, the police officers pull them out in the street. Now, were they wearing the same clothes that you had seen them in before?
Yes, I believe so.
All right. Now, do you remember getting your deposition taken? Obviously, you have it up there.
Yes.
All right. I'm going to refer you to page 14, and that'll be questions starting at line 4, and the answer going on after that. You got that?
Which question was it again?
It's page 14. It's question on line 4, and then the answer is in line 5.
Okay.
All right, do you remember saying in your deposition that you were informed that they actually even changed their outfits?
Yes.
And you later say, and then I find out after that it was them and they did change their outfits.
Correct.
So, when your deposition was taken, you said they had changed their outfits, and then just a minute ago when I asked you, you said they were wearing the same things that they had on.
You gotta
Right.
remember, this was, I would go by the deposition, because this was over a year ago.
Right, the deposition was in November,
Mhm.
right? You remember this, don't you?
Yes,
And this is a pretty terrible thing that happened to you.
absolutely.
Right. All right. Now, as far as the stuff that was taken from you, was everything recovered? Did you get everything back?
Not everything besides a couple games.
All right. Do you know what you were missing?
No, I can't remember.
There was a debit card that was taken. You never got that back, right?
Yeah, that is correct.
You remember that because you had to order a new one.
Yes.
Nothing else stands out in your mind that you didn't get back?
Nothing that stands out.
All right. Now, I just have a couple more questions. When Mr. Davis had that picture up at the door, there's like a front step where the welcome mat is.
Correct.
Now, do you step up from there into the house, or is that front step on the same level as the house?
The front step is on the same level of the house.
So, and you open the door, right?
Yes.
And Mr. Okafor is in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
So if someone was standing behind him, standing off the step, they would actually appear to be shorter than him, right?
Correct, yeah.
Or shorter than they are, right?
Yeah.
So if they were already shorter, they might be much, even a little bit more shorter. If they were taller, then they'd be closer to the same,
Okay, yeah.
right? That
Yes.
makes sense.
Yes.
But once they got inside the house, or on the step and then into the house, everybody's on the same level.
Yeah.
Now, Mr. Okafor is the one that is sort of standing there with you, right, when you're face down on the ground?
Correct.
Right. And Mr. Bernard is the one you're saying is going around the house,
Yes.
right? And Alex is in the back room somewhere,
Yeah.
is that right?
Yep.
And Mr. Bernard's the one who gets him and brings him out.
Correct.
So, it wasn't Mr. Okafor that went back there, it was Mr. Bernard, you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. So presumably, Alex would have had a chance to see the person that woke him up, right?
Yes.
I have no further questions, Judge.
Thank you. Redirect?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. Brandon, Mr. Davis, the first defense attorney, asked you about a statement that you gave to the police. And I think it was, I don't know if you still have the statements up here now. This would have been Defense Exhibit H.
Okay, thank you.
At the time you gave that statement, did you know who the individuals were?
No, I did not.
At the time you gave that statement, were you asked to identify or look at anybody?
No, I was not.
This is the initial statement that you gave to the police when they arrived.
Correct.
So when Mr. Davis asked you a question, were you able to identify anyone? You weren't asked to identify anyone at that point, right?
No, I was not.
And then later on, I'm showing you Defense Exhibit I. Again, that was this, you did a second statement, correct?
Correct.
And that was at the point where, after you had been asked to identify someone, correct?
Yes.
And Mr. Davis asked you, you just wrote down the percentages and that's all?
Correct.
And why was it you just wrote down percentages at that point?
That was what I was told to do.
Okay. And then Mr. Clark asked you about that statement that you gave to Detective Walsh, and this is Defense Exhibit A, I believe. Ask you to look at that same paragraph where you talk about the percentages.
Okay.
Do you remember anything else you told Detective Walsh at the time before you talked about percentages?
Really, no, I don't. No.
Okay. When you were asked to look at the person that you said 85%, do you remember saying anything else to him about it?
I mean, I'm sure I mentioned the cornrows, yes, and just the body figure and everything.
Okay. And Mr. Clark, or actually Mr. Davis first asked you about the car, and I think Mr. Clark asked you about the car as well. Mr. Davis asked you during depositions what you said about the car. Again, that would have been Defense Exhibit J. And you don't have to look at it, but you remember doing a deposition.
Yes,
And defense was asking you questions about the car.
correct.
Do you remember if you were actually even shown any photographs of the car at that time?
No, I was not.
So you had nothing to compare it to or anything like that?
Exactly.
Do you remember if you saw, and I think they asked you did see a car that day?
Yes.
And we're talking about at some point when you're asked to identify two individuals, do you remember seeing a car at that point?
When we were brought to identify them?
Yes, sir.
Yes, I do.
When you saw the car, did anybody say anything to you about that's the car they were in or anything like that?
Oh, no, they didn't bring that up at all.
Did you know whether or not these two individuals were even in that car?
That was, I'm not sure if I noticed at the time, but that was the car that I recall like seeing in the reflection.
Okay, it's a car you saw earlier, but you never actually saw the two individuals get in or out of that car?
No, not at all.
Also, Mr. Davis asked you questions about the point when you were face down, whether or not you could see anybody at that point. And I think you said yes and no.
Correct.
Can you explain that a little bit, what you mean by that?
Well, because I would be face down, but of course I would try and look from side to side as much as I can. And I actually was threatened a couple of times because they could see that I was trying to move my head about.
Okay. And so there were points where you could see the person that was in that room with you.
Yes.
And even prior to that, you weren't face down the whole time they were in the house, correct?
No.
Okay. And actually, you're the person that answered the door?
Correct.
So you were able to see those two individuals at that point, correct?
Yes.
Thank you, Your Honor. Nothing further.
Thank you. You wish for this individual to remain under subpoena?
Yes, Your Honor.
Sir, you may step down. Who is going to be your next witness?
Will Harrington, Your Honor.
Let me give the jury just a 5-minute break, and then we'll go after the next witness right up through the lunch hour. Folks, 5 minutes, a very short break. Stretch your legs. Do not discuss the case. Leave your pads on your chair, please, and do not do any research. Yeah, oh, it's working fine. 5-minute recess. You might see if you can get that to check on that other matter as well. Okay.
May we approach, I know it's unusual. May we approach, Your Honor?
Well, I need to get an answer to this question first. I'm simply asking for what the sanction is that he is requesting and the basis for it. Okay, you can approach. Mr. Mosley or Mr. Davis, I just need, because we were at the bench conference and not out in the open, are you asking for any other sanction on the sequestration issue alone in this matter, other than the re-admonishing of all witnesses involved in this matter about not speaking with this case and discussing their testimony?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. The court then is going to find that there may well have been some type of a sequestration violation in this matter. There is not a prejudice shown in this situation. The court will admonish the witnesses once again in a few moments, but I'll also ask counsel to remind their witnesses that they are not to discuss this case amongst themselves. It is now 11:15, and even if we're going to put a witness on at this point, we really don't have time to get very far with it. So what I'm going to do is bring our jury in, let the jury go. We'll deal with the other matter that Mr. Davis and Mr. Mosley want to deal with outside of the presence of the jury. And we'll have Mr. Harrington back at that point. I would ask Mr. Harrington to come back into the courtroom and simply sit in the back there for a second. Are there any other witnesses outside, Mr. Malik, that you have testifying? They're not out there at this point? All right. Just have a seat, sir. I'm going to advise all witnesses once again if you are in the courtroom by workings of a statute and constitutional provisions, normally you would not even be allowed in the courtroom. As victims, you are allowed, but you are still under the same rule of sequestration. That means you may not discuss your testimony that you gave in court or that you will give in court with any other witness in this matter. And that continues to apply until you are released from subpoena and this case has ended. So please do not discuss your testimony with or around any other witnesses in this matter. Let's go ahead and bring the jury in for a moment. I'm going to excuse them for lunch.
Says she was 100% sure it was Bessman Okafor and Nolan Bernard who robbed her and 3 others at gunpoint on May 9th last year at her Ocoee home. But in cross-examination, Bessman Okafor's attorney tried to discredit her.